Most people suck at running their business. You want to have the easy pickings and do the equivalent of a Mortal Kombat fatality on them? Then let's start, because that's actually what we're discussing today, starting with rule number 1. Most people don't really treat their work with any kind of real consistency or integrity. It's more the lines of, hey, if I'm not getting yelled at for it, then it's probably good enough. Rather than aiming for the best thing possible, that's just good old human laziness. Now, of course, we prioritize in some areas and leave that for other areas, but your work is kind of the most important one. The trade-off for doing something like that in your business is that you're not gonna be really getting any kind of referrals for it. And you know that yourself. Think of the last time that you went to a meh restaurant, ate a meh kind of food, read a meh book. Would you recommend it to anyone that you know? Now, of course, you're not gonna be asking for a refund. It kind of technically did get the job done, but you're certainly not gonna buy from there again or treat it with any kind of high respect in mind. Or, dear God, recommend it to someone else who would do that. But don't worry, the mistakes are plenty, like this next one, and one that I'm a bit guilty of, which is, say it with me, get focused. Say it with me again, get focused. Believe me, I know the decision paralysis from this is insane. If you're thinking about starting a business or you are already running one, there's going to be 1,000,001 opportunities always coming into mind. And you have no idea which of them is the best to go after. I really feel you on this one. Keep in mind, there is a season of Friends being uploaded with every sentence that you say. Do you know how many niches exist out there for a video editor to work on? A lot! That's the freaking answer. So the problem of focusing down and niching into something to set as my base has been a very familiar challenge. But this one, surprisingly enough, has a pretty simple fix and one that you can apply almost regardless of the business that you are in. The general fix is to go after niches and segments that you are already naturally familiar with, that you already consume and know about, without having to go out of your way to intentionally go through it. In a case like mine, that would be just taking a look at my YouTube homepage and seeing what stuff is on there. It's a lot of business, podcasts, some technical videos about like new tech, sometimes it's comedy. So those are the niches that I would likely be able to work in and enjoy doing so. And I remember that from my own experience. I had the most fun editing for business type content of interviews with creators and entrepreneurs. That is what I should be going after, and for you, if you're a car guy, then you go after car content and whatever else that they do over there, I don't really know. But let's say that you own a bunch of vending machines. How would this apply to you? Well, you restock it with beverages and snacks that you already know about and have tried before, and that you know which flavors are good and which aren't, and balancing that with popularity, instead of just randomly throwing stuff inside of there because you just saw stuff online that said it's good. Speaking of just buying stuff without giving it any real thought, now say this one also with me. Equipment does not equal skill. Equipment doesn't equal skill. You buying a fancy new piece of equipment, a new graphic tablet for your graphic design business, or a new camera for your videography will not make you a better professional at what you do. It will just give you a fancier tool that you have no idea how to make the best use of. And of course, I say this most to myself before anyone else because it's so easy to get a new plugin that saves you a bit of time, or buy some sort of package that lets you do a fancy new trick and think that you are way better now than you were before, even though you aren't. Give Picasso a stick of lead and it will be a Picasso. The thing about it is just giving yourself over to whatever it is that you do, giving it that same kind of obsession that they had in their craft. A lot of the reason that we never really improve and just stagnate is because we get the same stuff going in, so we get the same stuff going out. Even geniuses aren't free from that. I just read a book recently, the Peak one that I was telling you about, and it has this famous story of Ben Franklin. Even though being an ardent lover of chess, he never really quite got good at it, even though he played with the best of the world. And that's just because he never really put the effort and the intentional, deliberate practice of improving. But new information matters a lot too. If you never get any inspiration of how other people are doing things, especially when they do that thing 10 times better than you, then you're not gonna be able to output anything different. Because the benchmark in your mind of what is good is not aligned with what is really present out there in the real world. It's why in some books you get the piece of advice of dedicating a certain portion of your day to studying whatever it is your craft the same way that you would study a course for your college degree. Not practice, just consuming new stuff in order to get more and different inspiration to affect your creative output. But let's tie back in the whole Ben Franklin thing. After you get that new inspiration, in his case it was getting feedback from playing with the best of the world at that time in the entirety of Europe. After that consumption of whether it is an hour a day of learning about whatever it is that you are doing in order to do it better, or playing and shadowing the best in the world at it, you still need to put the active, deliberate effort in order to improve in it. The thing is, I've gotten good at skills before, but I can't say that I've quite ever gotten to a world-class top level. And it's definitely not just because I'm 23 and I haven't literally had the time in order to develop that expertise. No. I rationally know it, but nothing in the world is funnier than an 18 to 25-year-old thinking that they're running out of time. Anyways, while valid, there's also the part that I wasn't improving, or at least as fast as I'd like to. Whether in this channel's growth, my own business growth, or just pure editing skill, it was never really as quiet as I expected or wanted. Even though I've been doing this business for around 2 years now, and this channel for about a year and a half, give or take. But that's what prompted me in order to fill up my reading list with every book, well, good book under the sun that I've seen about learning. The Talent Code, Mastery by George Leonard and Robert Greene, The Molecule of More, Ultra Learning. Because even though it's a fraction of a second between the first and second place sprint runner and the Olympics, the difference is millions of dollars. The first gets everything and the second gets a tenth of that. And here's what I've gathered so far and hit my head against a wall for learning from a book instead of the 2 years that I spent messing around with this. You can't just hope to improve in something by time or sheer practice. You have to be very specific and intentional about what you are improving and how you are improving it so. If it's too big of an ask, then you haven't really broken it down enough, and because I've gotten a new espresso machine recently, I can go through this very specifically. Using barista skills as an example. Making a good cup of cappuccino is the goal, yes, but that is an outcome. You have to break it down into inputs in order to reach that outcome. Okay, so let's take the just caffeine part. How do I make a good shot? Okay, well, you have to measure enough grams, you have to put it down and distribute it properly into the portafilter, you have to tamp it down evenly, and then you have to slide it in fully locked into the machine and not get the last dripping acidic part of the shot into it. Voila, getting a good shot of coffee. And then you do the same analysis process with milk, foaming it and heating it properly and getting enough of it, then you can make some kind of latte art if you want. And that's what creates the outcome of a good espresso, taking each part of that process by deliberate practice and honing it until you get it right, and then you move on to the next part. Iterating each time on how it turns out, because if it tastes good, then you did good. If it tastes bad, then you did bad. And then using that many times over with the same tools and the same machine, so you know what you are changing, and voila, you learned how to be a barista. But if you do that with your business, then you'll have a successful business and a good cup of coffee. And with that, remember, if you're not struggling, you're not growing. Bye.